As we get older, there are a couple of myths that many of us have about brain health, how our brains work, how they function. And one is that you can't change your brain. The other is that there are fixed things that happen in our brain that perhaps decline as we get older, or that we don't have any ability to modify or make a change with. This episode is sponsored by The Kitchen Table, your ultimate destination for holistic nutrition and wellness information and more. I remember when my kids were young and the seasons went by so fast. I'd find myself staring down at the season ahead, realizing that my get in shape plans somehow just didn't happen. If you can relate to this, I have a solution for you. I've been running my 21-day nutrition reset for the last 10 years. This no diet dogma program is a common sense approach to reclaiming foundationally healthy habits, and you'll be amazed at how much you can shift in 21 days. I designed the curriculum based on my training as a nutrition educator and my passion for healthy eating as the ingredient guru. And now I'm offering it as part of the kitchen table. Inside the kitchen table, you'll have access to a wide range of programs, not only the 21-day nutrition reset, but also a preparedness pantry masterclass, a growing content library of ebooks, and so much more. Learn more at miraskitchentable.com. And I am so delighted today to be talking with my guest because it turns out all of those myths are not true. And so I am talking today with the lovely Donna Skogland, and she is going to talk to us about emotional self-care and neuroplasticity.
Yes, thank you for having me. My favorite subject.
Donna, thank you, Donna. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm really excited to talk with you because I think there really is this big misconception that as we age, our brain is just fixed and it's going to decline and there's nothing we can do about it. And so I'd love for us to dive into that. But first, I really want to hear how you got into this line of work.
Yeah, so I've been a yoga teacher for about 20 years. And about 10 years ago, I started learning about Ayurveda, which is the sister science of yoga. It's all about lifestyle and diet and optimal health and preventative health. So I started doing that, practicing that, coaching people on these Ayurvedic healthy habits. And what I noticed is that some people really struggled with building new habits, and some people were able to just create changes really easily, really quickly. And so I became more and more interested in mindset and understanding why we do what we do. Why is it so hard for us to do things that we want, that we know are good for us, that our goals and desires? And so I started to go deeper into mindset. And then I realized a big gap in my own skill set and knowledge, which was all about emotions. Realizing I had spent most of my life really not paying much attention to my emotions and not really knowing how to deal with them, except for using food or overworking, distraction, and shoving my emotions down, as I think so many of us have been taught to do that. And the more I dove into understanding emotions, I realized how important this work is and how big of a role emotions play in our life. They really are everything. Everything we do or don't do are because of how we want to feel or how we want to avoid feeling. And emotions drive all of our behaviors. And so the more I understood, the more I learned, the more I gained tools and built skills around handling my challenging emotions and changing my emotions, the more I realized this is work everyone needs to know. And it is such a big part of changing your brain as well.
And, I love that you talked about the habit of suppressing how you're feeling or stuffing them down with food. I think that's a huge habit that many of us do without even realizing it. It takes a lot of concentration and effort to learn to shift to a more mindful eating pattern and begin to connect that emotional food balance. I would love if you would share, before we dive too deep, what exactly is neuroplasticity?
Yeah, so you basically said it in the very beginning. but you didn't call it neuroplasticity. It's really this ability to change our brain and the ability for us to influence how our brain changes through what we're focusing on, what we're thinking about, the input that we're taking in. So our brain is being programmed all day long. Everything you read, everything you watch, everything you hear, listen to, observe, and all that input is going right into your brain. And your brain is processing that and creating neural connections, and it's organizing that information and thinking, okay, what else is that like in my brain? And when we have new experiences, that can change our brain. So yes, a lot of programming happens in the first 7 years. And that was the kind of myth, is like it ends at about age 7 or somewhere in between 7 and 14, or maybe all the way up until 25. And then we're stuck at that same mentality, which is scary if you think about it. We all had the brain of our early 20-year-old self.
Yeah, that would not be a good thought.
No, and it's not. We can tell how different we are as we age and how we think completely differently, and we see the world completely differently, and we have different perspectives. We can, and this is why it's so important for us to pay attention to what we're listening to, what we're taking in, what kind of movies are we watching, what are we listening to, what are we exposing our brain to, because all of that is going right in. And that is what actually creates the thoughts we think and the beliefs we have and the perspectives we take.
And that's such an important point. I really also want to point out that some of the exposures that we have are subconscious. You may glance at the magazine covers at the grocery store checkout and not really be focusing on it or paying attention to it, but we're getting subliminal messaging from that. Or if you're watching something and there's all kinds of ad placements or things like that, there's a lot of things that we don't realize are really influencing us and our relationship, not only to food, but our overall health habits. So now I want to ask, how do you change your habits using the concepts of neuroplasticity?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought up the subconscious mind, because that's a lot of the work I do. I basically coach the unconscious mind. Unconscious, subconscious, same thing. I use those terms interchangeably. Our subconscious mind governs 95% of what we think, what we believe, what we feel, what we do, our habits, our perspectives. And like you said, it's like our subconscious is taking in so much of that we're not, the 5% of us is not consciously aware of. Yeah. And so when we set out to change a habit, for example, we're using the 5% of our conscious brain. And so that part of our brain is logical, and that we can like really see, okay, in order to change this habit, I need to do these things. And here's my plan, and here's my to-do list, and all great intentions. But then you've got 95% of you that's based in the programs of your past and a lot of those habituated patterns. And so this is why people struggle. And
it feels like an uphill battle. 5% against 95 is overwhelming.
It's like heavyweight champion of 95% of your subconscious mind with like little lightweight. And I think of it as pushing a boulder up the hill. And so the only tool most of us have been given to change anything is willpower. And it's this idea that we should be able to just do it. And if you can't do it, then you must be lacking motivation or discipline, or you're lazy, or there's something wrong with you. And then we layer shame on top of it, which just creates this vicious cycle of not being able to make the change because we self-identify as something being wrong with us that we are unable to change. And maybe we take one step forward and 2 steps back. And it's the whole yo-yo and on and off and all or nothing cycle that so many of us get stuck in. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to say, and so I think that honestly is part of where having someone who can support you and point out some of that fallacious thinking where, because we do layer on shame and we do say, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever, and forgetting to stop and look at all the things that we did accomplish and maybe some of the roadblocks. Exactly. So are there certain things certain habits or certain skills that can help us when we're struggling with some of that?
Yeah. So basically, just knowing that means that, okay, we've got to see if we can address some of these subconscious things. And our emotions are part of our subconscious mind. And emotions, like I said in the beginning, drive behavior. So the reason why you eat or don't eat is because how you feel in the moment. So you think about something that you want, really want some chocolate. Although I'm trying to cut sugar, I really want some chocolate. So we're having the thought, I want chocolate, I deserve chocolate, I've been so good, I need a treat, like all those narratives that we say to ourselves to justify. And as we're creating those thoughts, we're creating the feeling, the emotion of desire and of an urge or a craving. And those are intense emotions that drive us to consume the thing that we're desiring, the thing that we want, the thing that we're thinking about. So in those moments, being able to observe what's happening and see and become the watcher, it's called metacognition, being able to think about what you think about.
Yeah.
Being able to step outside of your experience and observe what you're thinking in those moments and see how you are creating desire for the thing that you're really like actually not wanting to eat because of these goals that you have to be healthy or whatever it is that you want to change. So that's step one, is being able to have awareness of how you're thinking and how you're feeling, and feeling that desire, feeling those emotions. Because the thing is, like you said, it's like we react so quickly. It's like we're not even aware that we're emotionally eating because it's just so patterned. It's so automatic that all of a sudden we're just eating and we don't even know how we got there. So being able to slow things down and catch ourselves. And the process is, in the beginning, you only realize this after, and then you can reflect back and think, what was I thinking? How did this happen? And then the more you practice this self-awareness, the more you catch it in the middle, and then eventually before you even start. So the second thing is, once you have that awareness, then it's being able to allow those emotions and be able to feel these sensations of urges, of cravings, of desire in your body and not react to them, which is very challenging. And it is a skill and something that we need to practice in order to get better at, because this is something we weren't taught.
Yeah, no, we're definitely not taught how to intuitively go inside and really recognize the feelings of our body or the processes by which we get from A to B. Yeah. I would also say, I think it's got to be really challenging when you're trying to learn these skills and make these changes and build healthy habits for yourself, regardless whether it's I'm going to get up and exercise so many times a week, or I'm going to go to bed on time every night this week, or whatever. When you live in a family unit with other people who are not doing things. So how do you, that I imagine must require even more training and even more support for you to be able to go against the flow, not only of the 95%, but of the people in your family.
Yeah. And I just want to go back for a second, because there's a few more things that are really important in terms of in changing the habits using neuroplasticity. So once you're aware of how the sensation, or sometimes it's an urge, but sometimes it's anxiety that you're not wanting to experience. So eating is a little bit of it numbs it.
It's a soother. Yeah.
Yes. It's self-soothe. It's like calms you down. It's a little bit grounding. So whether it's just, you just want the thing and you're just having a craving or an urge, or it's an emotion that you're trying to move away from, like stress or anxiety or boredom or loneliness, what I teach my clients is tools to neutralize that emotion in the moment. So different nervous system regulation tools. So whether there's so many, few deep breaths, or just really moving into your body, noticing sensations, tapping, like emotional freedom technique is a great one for cravings and urges. So it's learning tools that you can do in the moment when you have those intense sensations of an emotion that you can just knock down and neutralize and bring yourself back to baseline. And then how you change habits. And this is the neuroplasticity part that is really interesting and so fun when you learn this, and it actually works so quickly. I actually taught habit change for 8 years before I learned this technique. And now change happens so much faster than I used to think. It takes a long time. We got to go slow and steady. And there's a lot of truth to that. But also, you can make changes quickly with this technique. So basically, you need to think about, how do I need to feel in the moment where, let's say, I have an urge, I have a craving, and I see a thing I want. What do I need to feel in that moment? So whatever that is, maybe it's, I've done this before with clients where it's just like disinterest, like I just don't want it. And so you think about, okay, what is something that you're just like, I don't want? Like, what's a food that you don't want? Anchovies. Or what is something like cigarette? If someone offers you a cigarette, you're not a smoker, you just don't want it. What is that emotion? And what you do is you create the emotion in your body, and you've got to feel the emotion. And when you're doing that, you're lighting up that part of your brain. So you light up the part of your brain with that emotion, and you bring that emotion into your body. And then you note that you observe or you imagine the trigger. So imagine seeing that food. And so then you're lighting up that part of your brain. And then you go back to the emotion and then see the part of the food, or see that food. And each time you repeat, you create a new neural pathway in your brain. And then it's all about reinforcing it. So I usually repeat it about 3 to 4 times. And every time you repeat it, you strengthen that neural pathway. And you are literally in that moment, in those 90 seconds, creating a new neural pathway in your brain that connects this emotion with this food. And so then the next time, let's say the next day, you see that food and that emotion right away comes up. And this is Hebb's law, neurons that fire together, wire together. And so this is a way that you can really quickly change habits using neuroplasticity. Emotion with trigger. Feel the feeling, see the trigger. Feel the feeling, see the trigger. Repeat, because your brain is programmed through repetition plus emotion.
And so you're creating this scenario before you're actually in the situation.
Yes.
So it's like you're priming the pump, as it were.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. I've never heard about that. That really sounds fascinating.
Yes.
And what a great way for people to really help support themselves by anticipating, so that instead of being stuck in the moment going, oh, wait, what do I do? You've already thought in advance about the desired outcome or how you want to achieve something.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm curious, though, how do we address if we're in a family unit where you're like feeling all on your own and everybody else around you is doing the things and you don't want to participate in soda or not exercising or staying up till all hours, any of those bad habits that are not good for us?
Yeah. So there's in psychology something called social contagion, which is really this idea that our habits are very contagious. Like we have mirror neurons that literally are there for us to mimic the behaviors of the people that we're around. And so it is very challenging. Our environment is stronger than willpower and is a very big influence on our behaviors. So I'm saying that just to know that is like, I understand how hard that is. And there is something you can do about it. And this is the power of accountability and support and community of people that are doing the things that you want to do. So if that's not happening in your family, which for a lot of us, it's not, but that's okay. It doesn't have to happen in our family. If you can find that somewhere else, find a community of people that are really working to change their habits or get healthy. And we're a product of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if you can spend a lot of time, and even when I say spend time, it could be what you're listening to, like the podcasts that you're listening to, or the books that you're reading, or the things that you're watching. Again, it's like, that's the bigger influence, or you want to be influenced by those conversations and those messages, and then let go of trying to change your family. Don't do that. It doesn't work. It usually is not received well in my experience.
Yeah.
And it's just being that example of, maybe you becoming healthier and happier will influence them, maybe not, but don't worry
and
about
intuitively, I'm going to say it feels like if you're already on an uphill climb to address changing habits and to do those things that you truly want to do and support yourself, before you get there to engage with someone else who's not doing that and try and get them to do it with you, sounds like you're doubling your load, if you know what I mean, and making it that much harder. So I feel like I love that you're saying, focus on yourself. It's be me responsible and stick to your goals and be the example rather than trying to drag everybody else with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you can't change other people. We have a hard time changing ourselves, and then we try to change other people. So don't try. And you just have to focus on yourself and get the support that you need. So again, it's like seeking that support system somewhere, because accountability counts for a lot. So there's a really interesting study that was done years ago. It was called the Change or Die study. And it was a group of open heart surgery patients that were put into two groups. And they were told by their doctors that you've got to change your lifestyle and your habits and your diet, or you will literally die. The stakes could not have been higher. This was super high motivation. And now one group was basically sent off on their own, go make the changes. And the other group had accountability, community, support, and they worked together. And the result of the study showed that those that went off on their own, and these are people that, again, like this is a life or death situation, only 10% of them were successful. And the ones that had accountability, 85% of them were successful.
That's amazing.
That's a huge difference. And we are tribal creatures. We are hardwired to want to fit in, want to be part of the group, want to be accepted. We need that. And that's why I think it's so effective to be part of communities that are like-minded, because that is just, we're wired to do that. We're wired to be in connection with other people that we can relate to and have similar values and goals. So
yeah, no, that is such a huge difference between 10% and 85%. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how important it is to find a community or to work with a coach or to have somebody who can help support you, because it is really hard to do it on our own.
It is. It really is.
I have one last question for you, and you probably get this a lot, but I'm going to ask you because it sounds like you would have the answer. We hear all the time, it takes 28 days to make a habit. Is that true?
No. There is no magic number. It's so dependent. I know someone who had a cancer diagnosis and quit smoking in one day.
Wow.
And then I know other people that it took them decades.
Yeah.
So there's not one magic number. The tool that I taught you earlier is so effective that it works most of the time right away. There are other ways to change habits, obviously, that are slower. And they now say 66 is like the average. But again, this is an average. So some habits take a short time, some take much longer. Well, I would just let go of all of that. And I think just making sure that you get educated on how to change habits. I gave you a quick tip, but there are so many other pieces, like making sure that you are setting yourself up with an ironclad plan. So having an implementation intention, which is, when are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? What exactly are you going to do? It's making the habit really small to begin with, super tiny, and then just focus on building that teeny tiny habit and then building on it over time once it is automated and just default. And so I taught habit change for 8 years. So I read so many books and did so much research and tried a whole bunch of things. So there's elements to building habits that are important that you include, and that will just speed up the process and help you make the change. And I would just say also making sure that it is something you actually really want. So having a compelling reason that is authentic. Some people that will say, I want to do this because it's healthy. But that's not enough of a reason for some people. And so just acknowledging, are you really ready to change this?
Yeah. That's
So
so important. And I love that you also say start small, because I know as humans, especially every January, oh my goodness, our idea is to make these grand pronouncements. I'm going to do like this huge thing. And so I love that you're encouraging people, figure out what it is you want to change, start small, and then step by step get to that bigger thing, because you're more likely to be successful that way.
absolutely. Yeah.
Donna, this has been really wonderful. I have absolutely loved chatting with you. And I know before we hopped on, you mentioned that you had a little gift that you shared with people. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. So it's called the Emotional Self-Care Toolkit. It will really help you understand what emotions are, how to handle the difficult ones. There's some audio recordings to help you actually move through a challenging emotion. There's a few videos that I've taken straight from my programs that will help you build these skills, build these habits, build these capacities. Because I think of emotions, once you learn how to handle any emotion, nothing really stops you, because the only thing that stops us in life is fear of feeling something we don't want to feel.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you know how to handle it, then you can go out and go after the things that you want and step out of your comfort zone. And that's really what is required for growth. So yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. So I'll make sure to put the link below. I'll also have the link to Donna's website. So if you want to check out more of what she offers, it'll all be down below. Thank you, Donna, so much for joining us and for sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate that. And for everybody who is watching, thank you for being part of the community, and in everything you do, make today a healthy day.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now.